In this lecture, I will explain how to write a simple C program that will display Hello World. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to create a simple C program and display whatever text you want on the screen. Before getting started with C, let's talk about basic structure of any C program. Ideal C program should have header section and body section. Header section includes supporting header files. One example of header file is stdio.h. This file consists of definition of all the input and output functions used in the program body. If you want to use input-output functions, then it is necessary to include stdio.h. Similarly, we can include other header files as well that is needed in our program. One thing to note here is, there is no limit on inclusion of header files. We can include as many header files needed by our program. The next section is body. Body section consists of actual lines of code that will be executed during the program execution. So, if you want to print something on the screen, we will include the necessary lines of code in the body section. Let's go to Codeblocks and write a program that will display the text Hello World. In order to create a new project, open Codeblocks IDE. Click on File, New, Project. Select Empty Project and click on Go button. Click Next button. Type in the project title. Let's name C program. Select whatever folder you want to create your project in and click on Next. Under Compiler drop-down, select GNU GCC compiler. Make sure both of these checkboxes are checked and click on Finish. We are done with creating a project. Let's add empty C program file. With the project selected, click on File, New, Empty File. It will prompt if you want to add file to the project. Click on Yes. Enter the desired name and click on Save. Make sure Debug and Release options are checked and click on OK button. We are now ready to write a C program. Now that I have created empty C project, let's write a C program. As I mentioned earlier, any C program will have a header and body section. First, we will add a header file stdio.h. This file is needed as we will be using printf statement to print hello world. This function is defined inside stdio.h. In order to define header file, type #include name of the file stdio.h and close this bracket with greater than sign. This is how we include header file. If you want to add another file named stdlib.h, then we will write #include stdlib.h and close the bracket with greater than sign. For now, we will only keep stdio.h. Now that we are done with header part, let's write the body section. Any C program should have a main function. Program execution always starts with the main function. It is a special function C program looks for whenever instructed to execute the code. Let's write a main function. Please type the code along with me. This is how we write main function. We will talk about int and return keyword in future chapter. For now, we can keep it aside for the sake of simplicity. Our aim is to print hello world. This will be done by using printf function. Printf function will display text on the screen. Whatever we write inside double quotes, printf will display that on the screen. Here we want to print hello world, so we will type this in double quotes. Just to summarize, this is main function. This is called printf statement. Statements in C are terminated with semicolon. Now that we are done with writing code, let's run this program. In order to run the program, we will have to first compile and then execute it. In order to compile, you can press Ctrl or Command F9 or select from the toolbar. In order to select from the toolbar, you can click on Build and select the Build option. On compilation, compiler will check the code for any errors. If the code is free from errors, it will create an executable file for you to run the program. Build log will display errors and warnings if any. If you see here, this code has got 0 errors and 0 warnings. We can now run this code. In order to run the program, you can simply click on Run button or go to Build and click on Run. For now, I'll click on this Run button. When we click on Run button, IDE will execute the executable file and we should see the output on the screen. You can see Hello World displayed on the output screen. In order to close this pop-up, you can click on any key. If I want to display some other text, I simply need to change the text within printf function, then compile and run the program. Please note that you will have to compile the code every time you make a change. Let's type some other text. I will type my C program. The next step is to compile. Once the compilation is done, if the code is free from error and warnings, I'll simply click on Run button. You should now see the new text on the output screen. Let's try one more thing. Let's delete the header file and try to compile the program. On compiling, you will see warning message asking to include stdio.h header file as it is needed for printf statement. It won't throw an error. You should be able to run the program successfully. However, compiler will compile the code with warnings. I will now add the header file back. Now, let's remove semicolon from printf statement and then try to compile the program. If you see here, the compiler will now throw an error saying semicolon is expected after every statement. I will now add semicolon back and compile the program again. And it should work fine without any issue. If you can see here, there are 0 errors and 0 warnings. Now, let's rename the main function to main1. Now try compiling the program. On compiling, it will throw an error because it did not find main function, which is starting point of any C program. I'll revert this change and compile the program again. It should be compiled successfully. Let's summarize what we have learned so far. Header files are supporting files needed by C compiler. Main function is mandatory to include in any C program. Program execution always starts with main function. Inbuilt printf function is used to print data onto the screen. This is how a basic program in C looks like. Let's do an assignment for your better understanding. Write a simple program in C to display the below text. I am learning C. Pause the video and come back for a solution once you are done. Here is the solution for your assignment. I had asked you to write a code that will display I am learning C. As we all know that we can use printf function to print any string onto the screen. So instead of hello world, I replaced that string with I am learning C, and if you compile the program and run it, you should be able to see the new text message displayed on the screen.